The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank and praise you for the opportunity to get together again and to hear from your holy word, to learn, to grow, to be transformed by your Spirit through it. Your living word is active. It doesn't return to you without having accomplished that for which you sent it forth, which is forgiveness and life for all who believe. We thank and praise you for this in Jesus' holy name. Amen. Welcome again. And welcome to everyone joining us by way of technology, especially our dear friends far, far away. We thank and praise God that we're able to do this in this day and age and use technology as a tool that helps us to reach even more people, especially those who aren't able to physically be with us. We're starting a little later than usual today because today was an incredible day at Grace. We had celebrated the 2 baptisms of young men joined to Christ and covered now by His righteousness. We had the installation of officers for the church, and we had a special report from the mission team that went to the Bahamas to do Vacation Bible School the first half of the day with Lutheran Church of the Bahamas, and the second half of the day worked in an AIDS camp. So there are tons of pictures and video from that we haven't yet sorted through and put into a kind of a special presentation. That's something we could do another time, but we weren't ready to do that today. Plus, the fellowship hall where we would do that is still decorated from science camp. There are things dangling from the ceiling in front of the screen, etc. So we'll maybe do that another time. But that was an incredible trip. That was life-changing, certainly for the kids. It was memorable. I'll never forget it. And the way God worked during that trip was absolutely amazing. As I mentioned, on the second day, just the second day we were there, well, actually, on the first day, I didn't mention this. On the first day we were there, we're just standing in the parking lot saying hello to Pastor, and these police officers start pulling in their own vehicles, but getting out in very formal uniforms. And Pastor said, "Oh, it's parade day today for a fallen officer, someone killed in the line of duty." And the officers gathered. Well, I was there in my collar, which I always am in ministry, and one of the guys had to be high-ranking with the special hat, medals, everything, came up and asked for prayer. Asked for prayer for the fallen officer's family, asked for prayer for the officers in the event, and actually said, "We'd like you to walk along with us." And I pointed him to the local pastor because I think it's very important to get local people attached to the local pastor. And they had a conversation and so forth, and I don't know what they worked out, but the local pastor, I think, demurred in order to stay with us who were newly arriving missionaries and hadn't even put our bags by a bed and that kind of thing. But that was my introduction to the Bahamas, a culture that is very British, was very Anglican, and that religious predominance is dropping like a rock, just like it is here in the States. They are quickly secularizing. They, too, are mourning the loss of generations from church. If you're in your 50s and 60s, you're probably still in church, and they've lost pretty much everybody after that. If you ask them, where have they gone, they will tell you they're home playing with their phones. So again, we see this kind of dramatic change in a culture that's not American, isn't America, where the exact same thing is happening, and generations now are being lost to the church. And they're beginning to attribute it to phones, especially social media. They're saying that social media has taught everyone to be focused on self and pleasing self, and my feelings must be served. And so people don't turn outside of themselves anymore. They don't humble themselves to come to church. They don't humble themselves before God and service to others. So it was eye-opening. It was eye-opening. One of the main questions we repeatedly were asked in the Bahamas is, what do we do for the young people? And I said, we're asking the same thing in the United States. Where have our kids gone? And so that was very interesting. On the second day, we met a wonderful lady who runs 3 charities, and one of them is that she deals with the Haitian refugees. They're so desperate to get away from Haiti, they'll get in a boat and try to make it to the Bahamas, just like they sometimes try to make it here. And there's an entire village of them, and what they do is they go out in what is sort of tropical jungle, away from the city, but not far. And they take shacks and shanties, and they use whatever they can get their hands on, cardboard or whatever materials, and they go out and live in the village. And so she knows them. So we got her to connect us, and we sent out the church van, and we were bringing them in every day from then on to VBS. So instead of having like 8 kids or whatever from the church and surrounding community, we were having 40, 50, and we hit 50 one day. And these Haitian kids are hungry, so we're feeding them. We were feeding the VBS kids anyway, but we got into our own granola bars and stuff like that we had, and we're feeding the Haitian children because they were not eating other than us.
How does the society receive the Haitian immigrants?
Not well. Yeah, Bahamian society does not receive them well. And it's interesting because pre-programming from the United States says, oh, well, they're all of African descent. They're all going to hang together and support it. Oh, no. No, Bahamians are very proper, very British. The Haitians are Haitian. And so the Bahamians look at them like, yeah. They were almost like sort of apologetic that they were there. And we were like, what? You know, we go to Haiti. You know, we love them. That was another eye-opener. That the Haitians are very much second class, and that may be generous, citizens of, they're illegal, and they are deported instantly, and they have no problem if they catch the parents and not the kids, the parents go. If they catch the kids and not the parents, the kids go. Let's send them back. And and it's harder there to become a citizen than here. If you're born in Haiti, so these Haitian refugee children can be born in the Bahamas, they're not citizens until you turn 18 and have all the official paperwork, which they don't have because they're being born hidden in the villages to Haitian midwives. And so they have no papers. When you're 18, you have to have all your paperwork. You have a 1-year window to prove your paperwork and that you've been there, and then you can apply for citizenship. Until then, you're not. So you can be brought to the Bahamas as a baby and shipped out the day before your 18th birthday and sent back, and you don't even know what Haiti is. Yeah, so they are learning the English language. They have to survive in that culture. It was just, I think at first, and maybe it was our perception of things, but it was our perception. There was some hesitancy about the whole thing, but we worked it out and brought them to VBS, and they were fed, and they heard the word of the Lord in that place. The camp was harder. We never got that worked out. The caretaker's family in the camp, we have to be very careful. That camp was started by an Anglican priest who fell from grace. He ended up with 1 or more girlfriends. He ended up with AIDS, and he died. The one lady who was supposed to be his wife, they never got married. She's still at the camp. She actually married somebody else, has kids with him, but her boyfriend also lives in the camp. Bahamians have an incredibly loose understanding of marriage. On payday Fridays, the bank parking lots fill up with the sweeties. Your sweetie is your other girlfriend on the side who probably has some kids by you. And the sweeties show up because Friday's payday, and they have to catch you coming out of the bank. Otherwise, once you go home and your money goes home, it goes to the wife, and you're not getting any. And so we have to be careful because I call Cheryl Sweetie all the time. Oops. Oops. That'll raise eyebrows in a heartbeat. Pastor has a sweetie. So, sweetheart, sweetie, yeah, all that stuff. You don't do that. But anyway, just when you go on a mission trip, it forces you out of your comfort zone. We, without realizing it, put pillows of culture around us so that as we go through daily life here, everything is softened. It's filtered, it's softened, and going on a mission trip strips away all your pillows and all your comfort and all your safe landing. And you are thrust into another culture where you have you, your faith, your wits. That's what you got. And forcing you to live on that is the best thing that can happen to you. In a mission field like the AIDS camp, in Haiti, there are no Christian philosophers. There can't be. You either believe and live or you don't, but there are no Christian philosophers. When you're presented with people stuck in slavery to voodoo who have one or more evil spirits, and you're face to face with what you've only read about in the Bible, you don't have any room for Christian philosophy. You believe or you don't. And the name of Jesus has power over that, and you believe that or you don't. You know, in All Saints Camp, when you're looking at Garvin, whose mother died when he was 10, he's lived in the camp for 28 years, who's twisted and broken and has to lay on his stomach. And the day we met him, he was laying in a pool of his own urine. And he has to be fed in order to eat. And the camp doesn't do that because it's just low-income housing. And beyond that, I was mentioning, I'll get back to the caretaker family. They live there, and now their generations are having boyfriends and girlfriends and sweeties and kids. And they are moving into the houses that are supposed to be for the residents and taking over the camp. And the residents hand over their check. It's $290 Bahamian dollars a month. They get kind of like Social Security because it's just low-income housing. They don't have to take care of them. So they give them breakfast and supper, but no care. Can't eat, can't get there? Oh well. So the residents have banded together as a family because they're outcasts from their own family to take care of each other. And so they will come holding multiple little Tupperware, whatever they can find, bowls, and they'll tell you this is because they don't want you to think they're saving up for themselves. This is for this one, this one, this one, this one, and they do. And they serve each other so that the ones too broken to physically get to the kitchen, they also eat. Or like Garvin, has to be fed, has to be changed. The camp doesn't do that. His next door neighbor, who has developmental disabilities, both mental and physical, washes and changes him and feeds him. And if she's, not there or is whatever, he just lays in it. That's what he's got. And the young man, Braden, was telling you the story of his existence, which was when he lived in the shacks. And since that time, a group came and built a better place for him and a couple others to live who are severe. They built 2 of them. One of them, Garvin lives in it, and 2 others. The other one, the caretaker family moved in and took over. So that the broken ones can't live right across from the kitchen, still have to be in these shacks. Garvin's shack was full of holes, and the rats came and chewed on his feet. And he could not defend himself because he's twisted and broken and can't use his arms and legs. And so they built this place and moved him into it. And now this group won't build anymore because the caretaker's family said, oh, that's nicer when I haven't took it. And nobody can do anything because they know people in Parliament, and they're protected. So if we were to go and say, this is wrong, they'd kick us out, and those people would suffer. So we have to go in at their good graces and defer to them and ask them everything that we're going to do. Can we feed them today? Can we this? Can we that? We went there on the last day. We threw a pizza party for them. And I'm walking around in the collar and everything, and I hear, hey, out of this one shack. And it's the boyfriend of the caretaker's wife. Hey. Like, excuse me? Like, my name's not Hey. I want some pizza. Bring me some pizza, he said. Yeah. So we can't send things over. We can't ship materials to build for them. We can build for them, but we have to be careful. If it's too nice, it'll get taken. We can't send anything. Whatever we send over will be taken by the caretaker's family. So what we're starting to do is we met this wonderful couple from New Jersey, Ray and Colleen, and they are they're Pentecostals. They told us they came to church with us. So nice people. I love them. They're just great people. And came to church with us, and we prayed with them and hung with them, and they introduced us to how everything works. And we're going to work with them, and they know another group. And when each of us goes, we're going to send things to each other and bring them in ourselves because you can't send them just to the campus.
I was wondering, because actually I'm glad that you mentioned some other parties there, because clearly it's more than, and even our presence there is a week and a half, something like that, and then for the rest it's like they must depend on...
We fed them every day. They're not eating lunch today.
Yeah. And then, so there are other groups, like you mentioned, there's a Pentecostal couple, and...
They go every 3 months, and they're real estate agents, and she owns, I didn't ever catch what her business, they're both in business. They're going to sell everything and move there.
Oh, wow.
They're my age, they're in their 50s. They're going to sell everything and move there. And to move to the Bahamas, you have to work. You can't retire there unless under other circumstances. Anyway, so he is applying for a job at a food kitchen, and this real estate agent businessman, and he's going to cook food in a food kitchen for his job to get Bahamian residency and stuff like that. But she goes every 3 months. He's already, if he gets this, he's gonna drop everything and move. But they are wonderful. And then there's a Methodist church, and I met the pastor, and now we're Facebook friends, and we're starting to dialogue. They take a van up there each Sunday and bring people to church, and they minister to them with the gospel as well, which is part of why everybody up there that we met, we didn't meet all 34, but we met most. They're all believers. But yeah, we're going to all work together.
So I wonder, because I started wondering about two things. One is the practicality of just helping people to live. I mean, we are called to love our neighbors, and care for their physical well-being and those kinds of things. And I wonder, I'm not even sure that this is the question that has a real standardized answer. It's just you kind of have to figure it out as you go. But I mean, at some point, you want to edify people in their bodies and make sure that they're taken care of. And then I guess at some point also, the gospel comes into it. I mean, actual preaching to people. And I kind of wondered, so I've got two questions, and I'll just ask them both, and you can kind of sort it out. But one is, how do you manage the practicality of just changing a man's diapers or whatever with, talking to someone about, Jesus Christ died for your sins, and you have a life to look forward to in the hereafter. So that's one of it, is just balancing like the real practical stuff with how do you fit as a missionary, word and maybe even sacrament to some extent. I don't know. I mean, these people may have their own sort of understanding of faith, and you have to kind of come to it. My other question, which is sort of unrelated, but it's about ecumenism, and when you have Methodists and when you have Pentecostals, at some point you're going to have some doctrinal differences, and how do you sort of reconcile the idea that, well, I'm going to be there talking to them about, justification by grace through faith alone, and you might have, maybe you're teaching them to, speak in tongues, or I don't know what. How do you sort of, I mean, it's just a big soup of stuff. How do you...
It is, and that's the great thing about missions. In here, and this is critically important what we do in here, but it's a controlled environment. It is a distinctly Lutheran environment, and we are going to speak in the same lingo and the same everything safely and comfortably, which you can't do necessarily, or you can do, but you can't in missions, because you're right. That's right. The lady we met that runs the 3 charities, she's Pentecostal. She is Apostle Flossie, which is one of the best things I've ever heard, because I call Cheryl Flossie, and it's hysterical.
Sweetie Apostle.
You need to start reassessing the things you call Cheryl.
Yeah, right. Well, the story behind that is my grandmother's best friend was Flossie, and Flossie would come to the house. So my dad, from being a little kid, knew this. When Flossie came to the house, she's there for the day. And Flossie would say, she would talk, she'd say, oh, you know what, I've got to go. But one more thing. And then she'd go, well, I really have to go, but, and she would do this, and I just Cheryl does that. She's my I am painfully shy and introverted. I do this because I have a fire in my bones placed there by God and got dragged into it kicking and screaming. Cheryl is my talker and my ambassador. She can talk to anybody for any length of time. I tease her that she would talk to an axe murderer in an elevator. Oh, how do you get the blade so sharp? What do you do about the blood? How do you knock that? And she doesn't really appreciate my humor sometimes.
I don't know if that sounds like a sweetie or not.
So I call her Flossie. But she is an incredible help to me in ministry. And have tried and have never really been able to learn her talent for being visiting, what I just call visiting, I make an adjective out of it. No, ever, with people. I don't know how to do that well. And it's tough because I love doctrine so much. I can be kind of professorial until you get to know me accidentally, just because I'm just terrified of human interaction. And so she just irons all of that out. And then once you get to know me, I'm just as weird as anybody else, normal. But she's a great help like that. But anyway, Apostle Flossie is also Pentecostal. I'm getting Pentecostal because I bumped into other people who were apostles so-and-so. And what the Bahamas also has a lot of, as the Anglican predominance falls, what's rushing in from Miami is tons of brand X Pentecostal ministry. So you'll actually see billboards of husband and wife pastor teams that are healing ministries and da-da-da-da. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? And they're starting these churches and they're doing this thing. And my understanding from talking to the people there is they will build a church and it will explode with growth, because the movement and the beat and the cadence of the preaching and everything super appeals to African heritage. But these churches explode in growth, buy big buildings, and months later they're closed. Or there's just a handful of people in this giant church built for 500 because the British kicks in and they're the proper, like, or they very well educated, they quickly discover, hey, this is a mile wide, but it's a millimeter deep. I need, and they go away.
You can only come excited to church every week so long before you...
Yes! And it's like, look, that just wore me out, and I did this last week, yeah.
So, just to continue to build on this.
Yeah.
How does a mission team interact in that kind of mission field? And I bring it because we kind of have that mission field here in Utah. We have it in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing when we're talking to people outside.
Yeah, so, and you're right. And that's why those are great questions, and that's the comment of the hour. The combination. We can work with anybody on human care. We cannot help anybody spread their gospel. So what you have to do is, we have to take the lead. And Colleen and her husband Ray, I'm telling you that real authentic Christians of any denomination respect a faithful pastor of any denomination. From the moment they met Cheryl, and they started picking up on, there's something here. Because Ray and Colleen, these are real Christians. They are the real deal. And they picked up on, and they came to the church service, and they listened to the church service, and they came and they talked to me, and it was seconds into it, and we're like old friends. And the whole thing is just click, 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 working. And they were humble, they deferred to me in everything. And they were so great, they were, whatever you want to do, just love these people. Just talk to them, feed them, walk with them. They were stunned. We came out of the blue, and we're like bringing lunch every day, and then we threw them a pizza party, and I'm sending pictures to Colleen, because she had to go back to Jersey, and I'm crying. She says, and we've maintained this friend. Cheryl and I invited them to come stay at our house. Come out here, come stay at our house. It's that natural with authentic Christians of any brand, okay? So, and they acknowledged to me, I never had to bring it up. We know we believe some different things. And they said, we want you to know that we know that, and that you are here, you're going to do your ministry and spread the gospel. Why can't it be like that? Why can't, and so, human care, anybody, any place, anytime. The minute they start spreading a different word, we can't do that. That's unionism. We cannot participate in the spread of another gospel. So tying that to, for example, truth in love. We've talked a lot about that. It's Wisconsin Synod Lutheran. It's like this close,
so close.
Right? But because that organization went to a Baptist church and did a Baptist evangelism conference on how to spread the Baptist gospel, we hit the brakes I contacted them. I pulled 2 other Wisconsin Synod pastors into the mix so they could check me, so I'm not accidentally offensive or whatever. Well, the first thing the one did was say, no, actually, you're absolutely right. The second one came back, this was just in May, when we did the, the fun day, field day, when all of the Lutheran churches, well as ELS and so forth, come together. And he said, you were right all along. That pastor did. He said, I was too fast. I just want to spread the gospel. I was too fast to make concessions in spreading the gospel. Their gospel is different than ours, and you were right all along. So that's where we are.
Would you say? I mean, I was just thinking about the sermon today, and we spent time on the the Good Samaritan, and and it seems like even scripturally there is, not that they're distinct from one another, but there's at least there's not a requirement that as you care for people in their body and in their human needs, that you also have to, like, well, I've got to figure out the doctrine that I'm going to do with that, and
right, that's the next,
right, it's like,
that's the next thing.
If someone's beat up, you don't worry about, what exactly is their confession. You help them with the things that they need because they're human first and foremost.
Yep. So you kind of go, well, I don't know if it's necessarily a hierarchy of needs. Sort of a hierarchy of needs.
I almost said that, but yeah, it's like they're distinct.
They have to be alive to hear the gospel.
Yeah.
So you address that, right? So you do the human care. And you do the human care regardless of their belief system. Whether it's voodoo or not. Not just some other denomination. Whether they're Muslim, whether they're whatever, you do the human care first. Because they have to be alive to hear the gospel, so you tend to their earthly needs. But here's the thing, and this is where some people misunderstand and get off track. There is a saying attributed to St. Francis of Assisi that he didn't say, but it's attributed to him. And it goes kind of like this as a paraphrase. Speak the gospel everywhere, use words if necessary. He never said that because he knew the gospel better than that. He never said that. We don't know who said it. But he's pegged with it, poor guy. He didn't say that. Giving people socks and underwear is not preaching the gospel. If you give people socks and underwear, they will have the newest socks and underwear in hell. Unless you preach the gospel. So when you go feed people, you should feed people. But if you only feed people, they'll be the best fed people in hell. Speaking the gospel is speaking the gospel, right? Giving them what they need for life is love. And we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. But notice I said in the sermon, that's not the gospel. And that's where a lot of churches in America are falling down by creating that as the gospel, social justice gospel, that Jesus died so you can have you have a franchise. Or Jesus died so that you'll no longer be a racial minority, you have equality with the majority. No. Jesus died so you can be well fed. No. No, none of that. We should do those things because it's right to do those things, and we should love our neighbor as ourselves. But that's not the gospel. And that's not why Jesus died. And unfortunately, because the flesh wants to believe I'm basically good, I can justify myself, feelings are an accurate barometer of the Holy Spirit, my feelings are my God, these social justice churches are enabling people to stay worldly and just think by doing good, which makes them feel good, and it does feel good. That's not why we do it. But doing that, you're doing the gospel.
And they wipe themselves out trying to do enough good.
Well, there's the other thing, is that they burn out doing. Really, it's the secular religion of busyness sort of sprinkled with Jesus stuff.
Or conversely, they will only be doing their version of the gospel when they see something to get mad about or whatever, right. And when they're comfortable at home and there's no injustice in the world at the moment.
That's right.
The gospel, the quote-unquote gospel doesn't matter.
And I just saw... how we go down the what would Jesus do tract.
Right. What would Jesus...
With the answer, well, he'd allow himself to be nailed to a cross and die for our sins.
Die for our sins. Yeah, exactly. And that's the best end. What would Jesus do? Yeah, die for our sins. Yeah. Right. And that's the gospel. So what you do is you help everyone that you can. And that's tougher than that sounds. Because grace now is known as a place that loves people. I get messages from around the world almost every day requesting help. I posted our motorcycle ride up East Canyon, and somebody saw your bike in Kenya and messaged me and said, Pastor, I need a machine. They call them motorcycles, they call them machine. Well, cars are machines too, but I need a machine to go into the jungle and preach the gospel. Can you buy me a machine? I can't. How do I do that? In Kenya. And I get them from, I have a Lutheran seminary-trained pastor in Uganda messaging me nearly every day. Pastor, we need you. We need your people. Come to Uganda. I have 25 children with AIDS, and so do their parents have with AIDS, and nobody loves them. But your people love them. Come to Uganda. I get messages around the world almost every day.
What do you do with that?
Right. Right? What do you do with that?
Well,
Send me
calendar.
seminary books. Pay for my seminary education. Pay for my illness. Look at these children with open sores. I'm in the horrible position of having to say to these people, our resources that we have available are only what we have. And right now they are utterly dedicated to the ministries, the promises we've made. We have to carry out the promises we've made. But I don't sleep well some nights. I just don't. I wake up in the middle of the night seeing African children with open sores. I wake up in the middle of the night knowing that a seminarian hasn't returned for pastoral formation because they require books that he can't buy. This kind of stuff happens all the time. And I'll be brutally honest with you because you're my family and I feel safe to do that. I fight getting jaded. I fight getting jaded when self-centered Americans can't be bothered to come to climate-controlled church, can't be bothered to actually help people in need, or can't be bothered and automatically reject me as a preacher of the gospel or you as an authentic Christian because they're too busy with soccer band and whatever or whatever pleases them. But I got children with open sores, and a pastor needs a motorcycle, and a seminarian needs books. And it's tough. It's tough.
There's the hard part, I think, as regenerate people who want to genuinely do good, is that even Christ, he was surrounded by physically broken, injured, diseased.
He lived this.
But also he didn't come to heal everybody. Did he heal all the lepers?
Nope.
Did he heal all the lame? Did he give sight to all the blind people?
Right.
No, he did not. And as hard as it is, and I was probably hard, I dare say it was probably hard for him too, right?
Absolutely, because he could.
Right, absolutely.
He could.
But
that's not always best.
That's
for them.
also not what he came for.
Yeah.
And in the same way that he didn't get off track arguing all the time with Pharisees or defending his personal reputation or whatever, he was laser focused toward the cross, and he did those things to give signs to others, just like we do. People send you messages because, not in the same way, but those are signs, those are outward signs of inward faith and belief, and so people know that we're the kind of, you or whoever, Christians, the Christian church is the place to go for help and amelioration with worldly problems, but not only that, and so that's kind of the hard part for us is like, we want to do all of that. Like, wouldn't it be great to wave a wand and do that? But we can't.
Right.
But what we can do is preach the gospel to people who need to know that, aside from this life, which can be miserable and can be broken down and, you can feel bad and all those things, you can at least be sure in the promise that God sent his son to die for your sins and that in the life to come, everything will be much better.
Absolutely. So, and you're right in pointing that out. What people need, we see the external need. What people need most of all is spiritual.
Right.
And yet, we have to address one of the things that I think has contributed to the decline of the church over the past 40, 50 years is that the church always used to be the place where you turned for these things. The church came up with everything from as hospital systems to university education and scientific discoveries, was always the church Who did you turn to take care of the poor and the broke? The church. There was no safety net.
The church was the welfare system.
And now everybody turns to government. And the more they turn to government and the more they have expectations of the government, the more secularized human care has become. And the more the expectation is that the church is this marginal thing and you don't really need it, and yada, yada, yada. And that's becoming a problem in the Bahamas. It's been a problem in the States. So yes, we need to do more of that. And we need to do more of it for another reason. Soft, well-provided for, successful people rarely need God. Jesus didn't come for the healthy, he came for the sick. Look who he went to. The Samaritan woman who had to go to the well by herself in the middle of the day because she's so outcast she couldn't go with the rest of the women in the morning. They traditionally went in a pack. And some shepherds or something would go with them to protect them because the well's outside of town and you could be attacked and probably would be attacked, whether by animals or by bandits or whatever. She was so outcast. The adulterous woman in John 8. Short guy, the Pharisee, Zacharias, who was... Zacchaeus, who was... had to... I'll pay everybody back, for double. Anyway, you get the idea, right? Oh, the woman who cries on his feet and wipes her feet with his hair. Oh, if you knew what kind of woman this was that was touching him, he goes right to them, right? And what does he say to the guy who was his host? I came here and you gave me a greeting. She hasn't stopped kissing my feet. You didn't give me water. She hasn't stopped washing with her tears, right? Right? And so why is she showing this gratitude? Because the one who's forgiven much, appreciates it much, believes much. And so that's actually what we ought to be doing more of. Church, somewhere along the line, got too interested in people like us. And one of the key beefs I have with the entire non-denominational contemporary movement is it's really about serving me and my kind of people. If you look at those, they are white, upper middle class, started by boomers and 80s. Anyway.
I would like to point out last week we talked a lot about therapeutic moralistic deism.
Yes.
Go check that video out if you're watching this online. There's a lot of information there, and that's kind of what we have mostly today.
Tons. Yeah, tons. Absolutely. So, so the question, the first half of the question is answered. How do we work with other denominations? Well, they really appreciate the depth that we have. And that couple was very generous in saying, "Wow, we loved worship. We came and that was great, and we just bonded and did so well." What is the physical need versus the spiritual need? It's not a versus really. Those aren't categories necessarily. We do both. We do address physical need, but we have to preach the gospel. And so in addressing physical need, God's given us X, whatever X is, right? But what I mean is as individuals, God's given us X, and we all have to examine our own personal finances and decide what can we do. As stewards of God's money, it does belong to Him. It actually is His stuff. What do we do as stewards of God's money, too? Because it's not like we're supposed to live in the same kind of shack that those people do. What it actually is that we need to move them toward us. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. We're not wrong for having central air and beds. Now, what can we do for them? That's the thing. See, you get that good stuff, and I believe God has blessed us and our culture so that we can be a blessing to others. So how do we go about doing that? But there's a limit to that. We have a school ministry to operate, and that takes X to operate. And then we have missions. And somebody has generously funded missions here a year ago, not this past previous year, but the previous end of the year, wrote a $25,000 check to Grace for Missions. And looked me in the eye, handed me the check and said, "I believe in you, I believe in the ministry that you've brought here, I believe in what's happening to this place. Go do missions." And pay for other people to go, because missions should not be the purview of the wealthy. Okay. That person came back and wrote a $50,000 check for this year and said, buy airline tickets, buy whatever you need. I believe in missions. I believe in the direction of the ministry. Go do it. And we are. And so a trip to Togo needs to happen. We have got to support Pastor Michael Wildauer. I love him. He is a great guy. I love you too. You're his brother.
It's all right. My parents are the same way.
What the oh man! Dagger in the heart. Wow. Yeah. So I never ever forget you when I'm talking about your brother ever. I mean, you're serving as the chairman of the congregation. You're wrapped up in hours of extra worry and labor also. Beyond your regular job and that service is meaningful and necessary to me and to this congregation. So we have got to get to Togo. We have probably got to get to Uganda. I'm kind of blurting that out now. It's just on my heart. What just happened in Louisiana? Hurricane, flooding. Hey, this is what we do. We're grace. We do grace. This is what we do. We probably ought to go. I don't know when. I don't know how. But we ought to probably respond. We responded to Texas. We probably ought to respond. We got Spanish Fork Mission. Did you see them? Did you hear real live human beings with lives changed? Did you know the dad's not Lutheran? He's LDS. Did you know he came to me the night before the last on the trip and said, can I start calling you father instead of pastor? And I said, why? That's a good Lutheran question. What does this mean? Right? Why? There is a precedent. Yeah. Paul writes to the Corinthians, I become your spiritual father in Christ. Yeah. He wrote to Timothy, I become your spiritual father in Christ. Yeah. That's why they call Catholic priests father. It's in the Bible. It's not a bad thing. He said, why? He said, because you become my spiritual father. And it turns out that we're probably going to have a baptism. And like I was saying in the sermon, this is why I get up in the morning. You know, that 9 of our last 11 baptisms here, 13 after today, baptisms here at Grace are conversions. People come to faith through the ministry here. And they're not just changing denominations, and I'm up for that too. But literally lives are changing. Literally people are coming up and saying, I have learned more here in the past few years than I knew before. They're literally saying, this place makes a difference in my world. And it happened in Spanish Fork, been open since October. We're averaging 20 to 25 people a Sunday. Coming on Sunday afternoon of all times for Bible study and worship. We got a first conversion and another one coming on the way. The missions, the teaching in the seminary, feeding, giving water, AIDS camp. That's why I get up in the morning. That's what I want to see.
Just on a local level, as a church that is essentially in an American mission field, I like to kind of think that those kinds of things could be happening more often, but for our timidity sometimes. It's easy to not speak about Christianity in a culture that doesn't really understand what it's doing.
Yeah, it is hard.
And so you can say, well, I'll just mind my own business, but you've got people all around you who might feel that same way, you know? They'll think, well, I guess this is what church is. I guess this is what the message is. You know, be busy, try again, keep trying.
Work harder.
Yeah, and I think that is seeing something like that happen is a real testament to the power of wording people around you in your own neighborhood.
Absolutely. And we're going to be talking more in future Sundays about critical theory. Critical theory it comes out of the French Revolution and the Enlightenment. It goes hand in hand with postmodernism. Critical theory is also kind of perfected in the Frankfurt School in the 1930s. And the idea behind it, and it affects across a broad range of disciplines, but critical theory fundamentally says that ideology prevents the liberation of man, which is, again, a self-canceling, dumb thing to say because that's an ideology. But ideology, and so we have this notion in our culture today that I don't want church. I don't want anything to do with church. You're oppressing me, man. And that's why when you go out and share the gospel with so many people, have you ever had that feeling that you were shot down before you started? Like all the time? It's because you are. You're shot down before you started because we are so thoroughly formed and ingrained in our culture with critical theory that before you can get out of your mouth why you have this joy and this hope, they're shooting you down because they're sensing ideology. All right? And we have to deal with that, and we have to recognize, so that's one thing, we have to recognize that. We have to stop excusing it. We are excusing people blowing us out of the water instead of saying, you know what, that's from the devil. That's sin, and that's from the devil. You know, we've got nominal Christians all around us who think their feelings are their God, who are obviously purely secular, and we make excuses for them being like they are. And you know what? We're enabling them by doing that, and we're not telling them the real gospel by letting this go on. Third thing is, we need to hear what Jesus said when he sent out the 72. It's in Luke's gospel. Well, it's in all the gospels, or the synoptics. What did he say? Go into the towns and villages. Tell them, repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. If they receive you, stay there. If they don't receive you, shake even the dust of their town off your feet as a testimony against them and move on. When people are rotten to you and blow you out of the water, don't give up. Don't say, oh, everybody's like this, because they're not. God still has his elect. They're still out there. And God's elect will be saved. And if you're saved because you're elect. But do consider moving on. I don't mean give up on people, especially those you love. But I do mean, look, when people are nasty to you for the 30th time or whatever, that may be a sign to shake the dust and move on. Don't stop loving them. Don't stop looking for opportunities to gospel them, but stop spinning your wheels and stop listening to them. When they are putting you down and making you feel miserable for being a Christian, that's not the gospel. Stop letting that affect your world. Move on. And stop excusing that behavior. That's evil. That's wicked. That's what that is. That slander, that gossip, that division they try to create even in the churches, that's evil, that's wicked. And it needs to be called what it is.
And you can still look forward to that 31st time.
Yeah, you really can. But the point is that stop excusing that behavior. Stop enabling that behavior. Stop. Well, they're basically good people. Yeah, no, they're not,
No.
and neither are we. That we are poor, miserable sinners in need of Christ. So are they. Stop excusing that behavior. But definitely look for those people who aren't automatically shooting you out of the water, because that may be a sign not only of their receptiveness, but of their maybe election. And work with that. I know among my racquetball buddies who I need to be talking to more, and who are my acquaintances. I'll always love them. I'll always befriend them, but they've definitely shut that door. I'll always look for that door to be cracked open. But until it is, there's other doors cracked open, and I'm going.
But even if the door is shut, we ourselves can stand up and claim what we are.
Absolutely.
We should not shy away from that
Absolutely.
at our school, at our church, in our lives.
Absolutely. We have to stop apologizing for who we are. And in whatever ministry we operate, we have got to stop perpetuating institutions at the cost of our identity. We do that. I don't want to be real and authentic, because if I do that, they'll leave. And this or that will shut down. Okay. Listen, unless the Lord builds the house, it's not going to stand anyway. You know, so for example, we started the Spanish Fork Bible study, and it's doing great because it's doing what it's supposed to do, and it's blessed. I want to go next maybe to Fairfield, Kimball Junction, West Val, whatever. Let's say we start there. Let's say it doesn't take. We stop beating our head against a wall and trying to preserve an institution for the sake of preserving an institution. Move on. Do something else, you know. Find where the Lord wants us to be working. We're in this veil of flesh. We don't always see clearly what he wants, and that's okay. Move on. Do something else. You know, Jesus didn't do any miracles where? In his hometown, right? Because of their lack of faith. So did he stay in Nazareth and keep beating his head on a wall and preserve the ministry?
No.
Oh, he went to Capernaum. He moved on, right? And we've got to be thinking more like that too. And that even goes for entire churches. We burn down capital trying to preserve a ministry because, well, this is the way we've always done it. Well, Mom and Dad were married here, Grandma and Grandpa were buried out here, whatever. Oh, we got it at all costs. Meanwhile, we have a giant building and a property we can't afford. Not we us here, but I mean in general, churches out there. Preserving until all the capital is gone, blown away on property, and preserving an institution that should have done something, moved, done something else a long time ago. And all that capital could have been involved in actual ministry and spreading the gospel. It just burned down for a handful of people to keep the place staying afloat until the next thing came along. Where are the 7 churches spoken to in Revelation today? Gone. All right? Well, so if we're supposed to preserve institutions, why aren't they around? They're not around because the gospel moves, the gospel flows. What it's really about is the elect, and not specific ministries and not specific locations. Yeah. Did that help answer?
It sure did.
All right. 109. We're getting close to the hour marker on this. Any follow-up questions for clarification or things you want to know about? This is a lot, but it's good stuff. It's really...
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Sure. Okay.
Where I live, for those of you that don't know, I live in a nursing home that's not what they call it now, but that's what it is. And I have really interesting conversations sometimes with my CNAs, and I can tell those that are staunchly the religion of the day, and those that are nothing, you know. And the ones that are nothing, that don't have a religious belief at all, I start talking about Jesus, and I start talking about, salvation and such, and what all that means. It's like, it's like, I mean, in my head, shouldn't you be moving on to the next resident, but it's like, they're hungry for,
Sure. Absolutely.
Give me something here, and then there's a couple of others that I listen to Pandora, and I have a speaker on a little pouch in my chair, and I'm buzzing around listening to music all the time, and when it's Christian music, there's one saying, what kind of noise do you listen to now? And so it's like, I know where she's at, okay? So I don't go there with her.
Maybe she doesn't like 80s love ballads.
That's that too.
80s prom music.
But it's really interesting how
I'm into the 80s, by the way.
And you know my room, you've seen my room.
Yeah.
You walk into my room, I've got some kind of Christianity.
There's a Christian lives there.
Yeah.
Hey.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so it just, and I can always tell those that are, and they'll start, and I'll open the questions because they're not allowed to. But once I open them, they can ask me anything, and we'll get into some pretty good conversations.
Good for you. Good for you being a missionary. Good for you.
It's just
Good for
a lot
you.
of fun.
There's a ministry that I know of, and I've saved the tab on my computer upstairs on my laptop. Where a pastor was called in an area with tons and tons of retirees. His entire ministry is he goes around each day of the week and does a service in a different facility, and they now are forming a church with no location.
Wow.
And all of where he goes, and all of those people are the body of Christ receiving word and sacrament ministry without a location. And I'm starting to learn more about that, which is super, super cool. Hey, that's definitely a ministry. Second thing I want to add before closing is, please remember as you evangelize that one of the great dangers is that we justify our family members and our friends. And we allow them to get away with more because they're our family members and friends. I want you to know that people aren't right just because they're my friends or my family. That doesn't make them right. They're my friends and my family, and I keep them. But they're not right. Stop enabling them. Stop making excuses for them. They're not right just because they like you. They're who they are, sinners in need of Jesus. And we are missing opportunities to gospel our own family members and friends precisely because, it's a whole buffet of things. But we want them to be right because we love them. I had someone leave Grace, a family leave Grace, because they have someone in their family who is being engaged physically with same-gender people, and didn't ever want to hear said, you're not allowed to preach about that ever. Because it came up in a reading on Romans 1, with a long list of other things. There's a lot of sins, there's not just one. Everything else was fine, don't ever preach it. The person said that. Don't ever preach about that one thing. Excuse me?
Yeah.
What? The Bible talks about that? Left grace because their family member does it, it must be okay. And we have other people who are sometimes even hypercritical and horrible to the ministry. Oh, we can't say that. We can't. Just because they're just because they're your friends doesn't make them right. Okay, that doesn't mean go beat on them. That doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean let's stop making excuses for this. Let's deal with the reality, because you cannot properly minister to somebody until you deal with where they really are. And so I want to encourage you in that, to look at people objectively as possible and say, look, this might be my dear friend, but what they're doing is wrong. And find ways, and don't give up in the same way that I haven't given up on. I've got one of my own brothers, wants to be an ethical humanist, not baptized like me, same church as me, raised same family, same everything. I'm an ethical humanist. Okay, let's not excuse that, and let's deal with what that is so that we can minister to that. Ministry begins with truth. Truth is painful because it's objective, and it doesn't justify my friends and my family just because they're my friends and my family. And it gives us an actual starting spot for gospeling people and trying to be a servant, a vehicle for saving them. Yeah. The life you save may depend on you being more objective than you're being.
As Christians, we don't really have a choice but to be the manifestation of God in their life, to some extent.
Yeah.
The work that we do through the Holy Spirit. So we should remember that and act like that.
Yeah.
You
like
could be the
like
person.
Tony was saying, don't apologize for who you are. Be who you are. They depend on it. This world, the harvest is right, but the workers are plentiful. The workers are few. Be the worker. Be who you are. And whoever doesn't want that, okay, but don't stop being who you are just because, and they may be very close to you and not want that. Don't enable them. Also don't stop. Stop apologizing and go and be who you are. Their soul may very much depend on it. Yeah. All right. Very good. Great class. Good job. Thank you for coming. Thank everyone for joining. Any questions? If you're online, feel free to send those in to the channel. We'd love to help you. And same with all of you, text, message like you already are. I get questions all the time. I love it. Keep sending them in. Let's close with the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever.
Amen. Peace be with you.
And also with you.